How could you be so selfish? My father shouted, his face reddening as he paced the living room of their Bear Lake vacation home. Your sister needs that money for her business. You have more than enough. I stood there, speechless, still holding the property tax bill I'd just been ambushed with. What was supposed to be a quiet Sunday dinner had turned into an interrogation about why I was no longer doing my part. My name is Louise Walsh. I'm 33, a self-taught day trader, and everything I have, I earned through years of studying market patterns and taking calculated risks. I wasn't born into privilege. Nothing was handed to me. For the last 5 years, I'd quietly paid the property taxes on this vacation home, covered my younger sister Megan's car payments, and funded family trips, all without complaint. I thought I was giving back to the family who raised me. Dad, I've been paying for everything for years, I finally said, my voice steadier than I felt. The taxes, Megan's travel, Mom's uncovered medical bills. I've never asked for anything, but I can't keep doing this. My mother sat silently on the couch, eyes fixed on her folded hands. She wouldn't look at me. That hurt more than the shouting. We gave you everything, my father said, waving off my words. Now that we need your help, you're abandoning us while your sister is trying to build something. That's when I noticed the envelope on the coffee table, half hidden under a magazine. I could see the bold words Trust Fund and Megan Walsh. My stomach dropped. I grabbed it before my father could react. Louise, that's private, he snapped. But I was already reading it, my hands shaking as the truth took shape in cold legal language. A trust fund, a substantial one, for Megan, and only Megan. This from the same father who claimed he couldn't help with my college tuition, who told me family finances were tight, who let me work 2 jobs while studying. The same father who expected me to bankroll their lifestyle while secretly setting my sister up for life. When were you going to tell me about this? I whispered. Suddenly, everything made sense, the favoritism, the unequal expectations, the endless demands disguised as obligation. He snatched the document back, but it was too late. The numbers were burned into my memory. $350,000 reserved for Megan, with plans for future contributions, and I had spent years paying their bills. Clearly, I said, my voice hollow, I guess that explains why you never helped with my student loans. Growing up, the pattern had always been there. Megan got dance lessons. I was told to focus on academics. She got a car at 16. I took the bus until I saved enough for a used Honda. Megan went to a private university. I juggled scholarships and a 30-hour workweek. I'd always convinced myself it wasn't favoritism, but it was. Sweetheart, my mother finally said, her voice soft in that placating way I now recognized as manipulation. Your sister just needs more help. You've always been independent. We're proud of how well you've done. The twisted logic stunned me. I was punished for my success while Megan was rewarded for her dependence. All those times I asked for help, I said slowly, when I was exhausted from working 2 jobs, when my car broke down, when I needed a security deposit for my first apartment. You said there wasn't money, but there was. You just saved it for Megan. My father shifted. Investment decisions aren't that simple. We had to think about the future. Just not mine, I replied. He pushed the tax bill across the table. The taxes are due next month, and HOA fees went up again. Even after everything I'd just learned, he still expected me to pay. The audacity was unbelievable. Something inside me snapped into place, a hard, quiet resolve. I'll take care of it, I said, picking up the bill. He relaxed, completely missing the shift in me. The drive home to my downtown Salt Lake apartment was a blur. Even the snow-capped mountains looked accusing. Once inside, I ignored my ringing phone, no doubt my father checking that I wouldn't back out, and opened a folder I'd kept for years, financial contributions, family. The spreadsheet listed every dollar I'd spent on them. 5 years of property taxes, $43,500. Megan's car payments, $11,168. New roof, $12,000. Mom's medical expenses, $8,200. Family vacations, $22,400. Total, $83,830 over 5 years. While they quietly built a trust fund for Megan. My phone buzzed. A text from Megan. Dad says you're being difficult about the taxes. Don't be selfish, Louise. I laughed bitterly. Of course she took their side. Why wouldn't she? Then a message from Dad. We're counting on you for those taxes. Don't let us down. No thanks, no acknowledgement, just expectation. The next morning, I called in sick to my home office and drove straight to see Joseph Klein, the financial advisor who'd helped me build a real portfolio once I started earning serious money 3 years ago. "This is quite a list," Joseph murmured, scanning the spreadsheet of my family contributions. His eyebrows shot up at the total. "And you've never asked them for a cent back?" "They're family," I said. "I thought I was helping." He removed his glasses and gave me a steady, concerned look. "Your generosity is admirable, Louise, but this pattern isn't healthy. You're sacrificing your own financial future to enable their dependence." "I know," I whispered. "I just found out they created a substantial trust fund for my sister while letting me shoulder all these expenses alone." Joseph's expression tightened. "That changes everything." We spent the next 2 hours creating a plan. I would need airtight documentation, receipts, statements, financial proof of every dollar I had contributed. Joseph referred me to his colleague, a forensic accountant named Victor Hernandez, who specialized in cases exactly like this. "Are you sure you want to pursue this?" Joseph asked as I stood to leave. "Money disputes within families can get ugly, fast." I thought of the trust fund document, of years spent believing the lie that my parents couldn't afford to help me, of the property tax bill pushed toward me with the assumption I would take care of it, again. "I'm sure," I said. "They need to understand what I've been contributing, and what it means when that contribution ends." As I walked out of Joseph's office, I felt something I hadn't associated with my family in years: power. 1 week after discovering the trust fund, I sat across from Victor Hernandez. His office was filled with neatly stacked files, and in the middle of it all were the documents I'd provided: 5 years' worth of payments, transfers, and statements. "Your records are exceptionally thorough," Victor said, flipping through a binder. "Most people don't track family contributions this carefully." Day trading had taught me the value of precision. Every transaction, no matter how small, had been logged. "So what's the final total?" I asked, bracing myself. Victor slid a sheet of paper across the desk. The number was even higher than my initial estimate. $118,745. The additional $14,915 accounts for lost investment opportunity, Victor explained. "Based on how your portfolio has performed, that's a conservative calculation." I exhaled, a strange mix of vindication and grief washing over me. Seeing the number printed on paper made everything real. "What now?" I asked. "That depends on your goal," Victor said. "If you want legal restitution, we can explore it, without formal agreements. Cases like this are difficult but not impossible. If you're looking for leverage or closure, we can prepare a comprehensive financial statement." "The second option," I said immediately. As Victor started assembling the finalized report, my phone buzzed repeatedly. "Dad, haven't received the tax payment yet. Due date is approaching." "Megan, Dad says you're being difficult. After everything they've done for you." "Seriously, Louise?" I muted my phone. 3 days later, I received a notarized financial statement from Victor's office, every cent documented, categorized, and verified. Joseph provided a formal letter endorsing the legitimacy of the analysis. That same evening, my mother called. "Louise," she began softly, "your father is concerned about the property taxes. The due date is next week." "I know." "Well, are you taking care of it? You've always been so reliable." That word, reliable, hit me like a slap. 5 years of payments without a single thank you. 5 years of financing their comfort while they built a trust for my sister behind my back. "Not this year," I said. A pause. "What do you mean?" "I'm not paying the property taxes, or anything else. But, we're counting on you. The money is already allocated elsewhere." "To Megan's trust fund?" Silence. "Your father told me you saw that," she said finally, her voice strained. "You have to understand." "I understand perfectly. I understand that I contributed nearly $120,000 while being told there wasn't money to help me through school or with housing. I understand that I've been funding your lifestyle while you set up Megan's future." "That's not fair," she whispered. "No," I said, "it isn't. And I'm done." I ended the call and powered off my phone. The real storm was coming. My father wasn't the type to accept boundaries. The next morning, I made 3 changes. I canceled Megan's automatic car payment. I removed myself from all family accounts. I transferred $120,000 into a new investment fund titled My Future. For the first time in years, I felt free. The fallout came quickly. By noon, my phone buzzed nonstop. I finally turned it on during lunch and watched the notifications pile up. Megan, 7 missed calls. What the hell, Louise? The bank says my car payment bounced. Are you trying to screw up my credit? I have plans this weekend. Dad is furious. Fix this now. My father's messages were shorter. Call me. Unacceptable behavior. You cannot abandon this family. I ignored all of it and finished my trading day. Only after the markets closed did I listen to my mother's voicemail. Louise, please. Your father is beside himself. The taxes are late. Megan might lose her car. We don't understand why you're doing this. We can work this out. Just call us. No mention of the trust fund. No acknowledgement of my contributions. Just expectation. I was drafting a response when my intercom buzzed. Ms. Walsh, your father is downstairs demanding to see you, my building's security guard said. He refuses to leave. Tell him I'm unavailable. He says he's staying. Then call the police. Understood. 20 minutes later, an unknown number texted me. Thomas, just saw Uncle Greg escorted out of your building by security. Are you okay? My cousin and I rarely talked. Me, I'm fine. Family money disagreement. Thomas, honestly? About time. Everyone sees how they treat you compared to Megan. I froze. Everyone, saw? His message settled something inside me. At 7 p.m., my doorbell rang again. I checked the peephole. Megan. I opened the door but kept the chain on. What do you want? What do I want? She snapped. I want to know why you're acting insane. My car payment bounced. Dad says you're refusing to pay the taxes. Both are true, I said calmly. Why, what is wrong with you? The problem, I said, is that I've contributed almost $120,000 to this family while Dad was building a trust fund exclusively for you. Her expression faltered, shock, then guilt, then anger. That's different, she said quickly. The trust is for my future. I need that security. And I don't? You've always been the smart one. You have your fancy trading job. I'm still figuring things out. At 31, I reminded her, while I pay your bills. She flushed. You never complained before. Because I didn't know I was being used. Because I didn't know Dad was funneling money into your future while draining mine. It's not that much, she muttered weakly. $350,000 is a lot. Her eyes widened. How do you know the exact? I saw the paperwork. Silence stretched. Then, astonishingly, she softened her voice. Look, Louise. I get that you're upset, but we're family. Dad says if you don't pay the taxes, they could lose the lake house. I stepped back. That's not my problem anymore. You'd let them lose the vacation home we grew up in? How can you be so cold? I studied her, the entitlement, the assumption that I existed to cushion her life. They have options, I said. They could dip into your trust fund. Her face twisted. That's not fair. I gave a tired, sad smile. No, Megan, nothing about this has been fair. I closed the door, firmly, but without slamming it, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel guilty. 2 weeks passed. The property tax deadline came and went. I stayed silent, focusing on my work and on my own financial planning for the first time in years. With Joseph's help, I'd restructured my portfolio now that I wasn't bleeding money into my parents' expenses. The impact was immediate and dramatic. I increased my retirement contributions, expanded my investment positions, and even began considering buying a small vacation property of my own. The peace didn't last. One afternoon, an email from my father's brother, Uncle Pete, appeared in my inbox. Louise, what's going on with Greg and the lake house? He asked me for a $10,000 loan to cover taxes and penalties. Said you're refusing to help the family. This doesn't sound like you. A bitter laugh escaped me. Rather than use Megan's trust fund, or acknowledge any wrongdoing, my father was dragging extended family into his mess. I wrote back calmly, attaching a PDF summarizing the financial contributions I'd made over the last 5 years, along with a brief explanation of Megan's trust fund. Pete replied within the hour. Holy hell, Louise, I had no idea. None of us did. Greg's been saying he's doing everything he can to help both his daughters equally. This changes things. The following day, my cousin Thomas called. There's something you need to know, he said. Your dad called a family meeting at their place this weekend. He's spinning this whole thing as Louise abandoning the family. He's trying to rally everyone against you. My stomach tightened. Thanks for the warning. There's more, Thomas said. I overheard him telling my dad that he plans to guilt you into not just paying again, but covering the late fees too. He's saying you're jeopardizing the family legacy. The manipulation was astonishing. Are you going to the meeting? I asked. I am, he said firmly, and so are you. You need to set the record straight. I've got your back. I agreed, though anxiety quailed in my chest. Facing my father in front of the entire extended family wouldn't be easy, but maybe this was exactly what needed to happen. On Saturday, I dressed with intention, a black tailored pantsuit, the same one I wore when negotiating difficult trades. I brought Victor's full documentation, the notarized statements, the accounting, the investment loss calculations. When I walked into my parents' living room, the room fell silent. My father stood near the fireplace mid-speech. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone looked at me with a mixture of concern and curiosity. Megan sat beside my mother, both visibly uncomfortable. Louise, my father said quickly, smoothing his tone, I'm glad you could make it. We were just discussing the situation with the lake house. I'm sure you were. I placed my briefcase on the coffee table. I assume you've already shared all the relevant financial information. His eyes hardened. We're discussing your refusal to meet your family responsibilities. Interesting, I said, because I have 5 years of records showing over $118,000 in family responsibilities I already met. Money that apparently couldn't be used to help me with school or housing, but somehow could fund Megan's trust. A murmur rippled across the room. Aunt Catherine frowned. What trust fund? I gave my father a chance to answer. He didn't. So I handed out copies of the summary. For 5 years, I paid the property taxes, covered Megan's car, funded vacations, and covered multiple household expenses, totaling nearly $120,000. During that same time, my parents created a $350,000 trust fund exclusively for Megan. Chaos erupted, voices overlapping, questions flying, people turning on my father with confusion and disbelief. These are private matters, my father finally shouted. Actually, Uncle Pete countered, family matters should be handled fairly, and this isn't fair. I hadn't expected that level of support. The room splintered into small clusters, relatives poring over the documents. My father's face was flushed with a combination of anger and embarrassment. When his eyes met mine, something shifted. Beneath the fury was fear, fear of being exposed, of losing control, and beneath that, something like reluctant respect. The meeting ended with him storming out and my mother close behind. Megan sat frozen, avoiding everyone's gaze. Slowly, the rest of the family processed the fallout. I had no idea, Aunt Catherine said quietly. Greg always talked like he was supporting both of you equally. Uncle Pat shook his head. If you paid those taxes all these years, you should have an ownership stake. That thought had crossed my mind, but ownership wasn't what I wanted. I just want the truth acknowledged, I said, that's all. Thomas put a hand on my shoulder. Not enough, Louise, there should be consequences. 3 days later, my phone lit up with a message from my father. The property taxes are due. Not an apology, not even acknowledgement, just entitlement. That evening, my mother called, sounding tired. Your father isn't handling this well, she said. The lake house means everything to him. More than treating his daughters equally? I asked. She didn't answer. Mom, I've contributed nearly $120,000. Dad hid a $350,000 trust fund for Megan. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's a pattern. I know, she whispered, I've always known, but, your father makes the financial decisions. I understand, I said, but I'm done. The next morning, I replied to my father with a single attachment, a photo of the full notarized documentation, the total circled in red. No words needed. An hour later, my phone rang. Megan. Louise? Her voice shook. Dad showed me the papers. Is it really that much? Over $118,000? Yes, I said. Every penny is documented. A long, quiet breath on the other end. I had no idea, she whispered. Dad always told me you were just helping a little because you could afford it. He never said you were paying major bills while he built my trust fund. Her voice cracked. Louise. I feel awful. It wasn't all your fault, I said gently. Dad created this. But I benefited from it, she said, and I never questioned it. I just assumed I deserved the help. There was another long silence. Then she said something I never expected. I'm going to fix this. Before I could ask how, she hung up. The next day, I received formal documents from my father's attorney. The taxes had been paid in full, and the lake house deed had been amended. I now own 25% of the property. Attached was a note from the attorney stating that Megan had insisted on using funds from her trust to cover the taxes and legal costs. Minutes later, a text from my father appeared. This wasn't necessary. Family helps family. I didn't respond. He still didn't understand. Then a second message came, this one from my mother. I know this has been painful, but I'm proud of you for finally standing up for yourself. I should have done the same years ago. That evening, Megan called again. I've asked Dad to split the trust fund between us, she said. He resisted, but Uncle Pete and Aunt Catherine backed me. He's meeting with his advisor tomorrow. A weight lifted, not because of the money, but because of what it meant. Justice, recognition, balance. Thank you, Megan, I said. No, she replied softly. Thank you, Louise, for finally making us face the truth.